Hello, thank you very much for watching. I'm Michael Bruner of Brogan Video, and with me today is Deborah Finestone from Finestone Marketing Solutions. We are continuing our series where we ask each other a series of questions that are common questions for people about social media marketing and video marketing, and getting a good education from each other from what the other person knows, the other person's point of view, and what we can teach each other. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. And Deborah, if you have anything to say before we begin, I'd love to hear it.
No, I'm so glad we're doing this again. We had come up with so many questions, and then it just became such a conversation that, wanted to keep sharing more with everybody out there. So
Great. So I'll just jump right into it. Our first question is, this is a fun one because I don't feel this a lot. What budget should I allocate for video and social media marketing? Deborah, take it.
yeah, I don't think people ask this question of us very much, but they have to be thinking about it. And that's a very fair question. I actually sometimes ask when people are, we're having the conversation about whether to work together. And I start it with the kind of what's your budget for marketing overall? Because then it's a fraction of that. So for anybody watching this, if you're like, oh, I don't actually have a budget, so what should it be? I looked up the Small Business Administration suggests that small businesses spend about 7 or 8% of their gross revenue on marketing and advertising. Sometimes small businesses spend closer to 3 or 5%, but they suggest 7 to 8%. That varies a little bit whether you're business to business or business to consumer, but it's still, what did it say here? About somewhere between 5 and 11% should be on marketing. I would say if you're earlier in your business, you should spend more on marketing because you need to get your name out there. That's the only way anyone's going to know who you are, what you do, and what sets you apart. So like a little bit higher part of that number, even though I know it's hard when you're starting out. So then from there, what becomes social media marketing? And that'll depend on, and video marketing. That'll depend on what else is in your marketing budget. So there was one year I was redoing my website. That was a big part of my marketing budget that year. I'm in a networking group. That's a big part of my marketing budget every year. So then it's, what is it besides that? But I encourage people to think about this because otherwise you're starting from zero in your head. And everything seems expensive and like maybe crazy expensive. Michael doesn't do things for $200. So, and he shouldn't. He does a lot of work and it's a lot of experience. So like you need to have thought about where does this fit into the rest of what you're investing in marketing. And I also encourage people to think of it as investing because it's the getting your name out there so you can get more business in. It's really crucial to your business to keep marketing and to continue growing marketing as much as possible in any way that you think is the best for your business.
Makes sense.
You want to add? I ran out of air.
I remember hearing a Henry Ford quote that I know I'm going to mangle, that the worst thing you can do when you're busy is to stop advertising.
Yeah, it's something like, I think I've seen it put as, give me a second, because I like this one. Stopping marketing is like trying to stop time by throwing away the clock. It's something like that. It's something about a clock. And it's that won't work. Time keeps going. Your business will keep going. Marketing is a really key part of that. It doesn't help to stop it. So
putting a budget together is essential. I've worked in networking groups for a while. I've been the visitor host, and many times people will say, "Oh, I'm not sure about that cost," but it's like, you haven't thought through your marketing budget yet, have you? Because if you're not putting some money into that, so yeah, exactly as you said, people aren't going to find you. And if you have a budget, then you can easily experiment. Try other groups, try other advertisements, just throw stuff at the wall and you might find one that really works for you. Can't just stick with what you always know. So my answer to that question is much more focused on trying to get the best results. So first of all, create a budget that doesn't have to be complicated. It can be tremendously easy. Say you just want to spend $200 a month. And That could be just putting $200 into Facebook ads. It could be hiring someone for $200 once a month. It could be something as simple as that. And you don't have to overcomplicate it, especially early on. Just have a couple places that you're going to put your money into. Just keep it very easy. Always keep the long view. You're not going to get a turnaround from anything really worthwhile in a couple weeks and a couple of months, or maybe even a couple of years. You have to really stick with it. Now, some very expensive advertisements, I'm sure you've fallen into this trap before, and I have too, where you pay a lot of money and you're setting a contract for a year, and by the time you realize it's not working for you, well, you got to run out the clock. That sucks. But most of the time, you do get a much better result, especially in social media marketing, if you're doing it on the long view, if you're doing it consistently over a good long time. And consistency really is the key. So you can't skip it for a couple of months because you went on vacation. You have to have automated systems. You have to have some sort of plan already put together with a nice budget that will work itself even when you're not actively working on it. I hope that all made sense.
Yeah, and it goes back to something we had mentioned in one of the other videos of repurposing things. So like, yes, you make the investment in something like having videos that last for a long time, but then it's also that'll be on your website and you plan it at social media through, I remember a funny one. Client I was working with last year, I was in my training program last year, and they run a shop that Christmas is a busy time for them, a very busy time for them. No surprise for a retailer. And their social media went down. They kind of stopped doing it. And I was like, okay, so now what are you going to do next year? In October and November, you're going to schedule all your posts for December, right? And they're like, yeah. And so it's thinking that through to use things that you already have or use them in different ways. Because, yeah, we all understand we have to be budget conscious. It's not, I've got everything under the sun. But you can use so much of this in different ways that make it more budget friendly.